Welcome to Alternative Soundcheck. My name is Casey McCabe, and today we are headed to Los Angeles. Very excited to be catching up with the multi-talented and Grammy-nominated Rüfüs de Soul. How are you guys?
Really good. How you doing?
I'm doing good. So you are in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's right. We've been here for the last 4 years. And we're just saying off air that it's been a lot more time spent here in the last 2 years than anticipated, but we're making the most of it.
It's not a bad place to be.
Yeah,
It's pretty good. Today it feels like it's summer, and that's in February, so you can't go wrong.
This time of year, you guys are originally from Sydney, Australia. Is that hometown?
Yeah, that's right. That's
so
hometown,
is it summer right now, or is it winter in Sydney?
It's summer. Yeah, it's summer in Australia. I actually just went back for the first time in 2 years, and it was like a glorious Australian summer. Because there was the lockouts, and I had to get an exemption to travel there, and finally that's gone, so I could see my family. Has some glorious Australian sunny summer days. It was great.
Well, now you are in beautiful Los Angeles. Welcome back. And you're not far from Bank of California Stadium, which is where you guys performed pretty much in the fall. I mean, tell me about you did the Bank of America Stadium, you did Red Rocks, these huge, massive venues. What's going on in your heads when you guys step into these arenas?
Yeah, it's a pretty surreal experience in general. We grew up, going to festivals and going to shows. So to finally be on the other side of that and taking these huge stages is, just nothing but surreal, I would say. And after the pandemic, coming back to our first show being like 2 sold out shows at Red Rocks was unbelievable. And it took some getting used to be honest. We had to shake out the dust off the cobwebs and, get back into that zone that, you just sort of focused on the music at hand and not too worried about the audience, but it took some getting used to.
How much preparation? I mean, when you kind of step into a spot like Red Rocks, just an iconic venue, I feel like you talk to a lot of artists and it's just a venue that everyone loves to perform at or wants to perform at. How did you prepare for that with the show in mind?
I guess, coming from no shows to doing any shows, there was already the preparation of relearning the old songs, as well as all of the new songs from our latest record, Surrender. But on top of that, we were working really closely with John's brother, Alex, who's our creative director, and this production company called IYA. And basically, we wanted to come back in a big way. And so we had this whole production, design, this whole stage piece with things that were moving, and we wanted it to be a very visually arresting experience, as well as to be sonically arresting. So there was a lot of work for the months leading up, dialing every detail in, adding new extensions and jams to the set. And it was really surreal to be up there and to be pulling it off. It felt, after 2 years of no shows, it was like, is this really happening right now? It was very surreal, and it was amazing.
I mean, you guys definitely know how to, if you're going to come back, you come back with a bang. And, congratulations on being back and, performing new music from Surrender, this album, your 4th album, a masterpiece. I feel like everything you guys just write and record just becomes magical. I mean, what is going on in the heads of you guys? And when we go back to Surrender, where were you recording? Were you in a special spot? Were you on location somewhere? How do you kind of just get it in your head?
Yeah, thank you very much to begin with. That's very kind of you. But for us, it was a very cathartic experience, really. We, I think, it being our 4th record and it being, a lot of years on the road and working up to the place of playing to 75,000 people in LA has taken some time. So it's taken we sort of were feeling that burnout period. I feel a burnout stage. And, we've said this a couple of times now, but as much as the pandemic has been horrible for the world and, it's been really jarring for particularly, we can see with the music industry and all the people that work for us, we were able to make the most of, a bad situation. And we sort of were able to repair some things between ourselves and look at what type of people we wanted to be and musicians and learn the craft again. So we went back to, we sort of pivoted once our tour got cancelled in the middle of COVID. And I went to Joshua Tree for a little riding trip. And 2 weeks turned into 8 weeks as the pandemic sort of became clearer. And yeah, we sort of like went about just starting our days with this like little routine of meditation, gym, and this little therapy session between ourselves, I guess, would be the best way to describe it. And we, you know, we hashed a lot out, and we would always then go into the studio for the rest of the day and have this little playground of, you know, musical equipment in there, and leave all of our worries and the world outside the studio. So I think we started to really nut out, you know, the process and the best process for us from there.
And you know why? I mean, a lot of people hear Joshua Tree. It's about, I'd say, 2 hours from Los Angeles. Just personally, why Joshua Tree?
I guess we've just had a few experiences out there since we moved to LA. One of the biggest proponents of Joshua Tree is actually our booking agent, Alex Beckett, who's a really good friend of ours. And, you know, he's lived in LA for the last 20 years. So when we moved here back in like 2017, he kept telling us about this really amazing place. He loves succulents. So he has this whole succulent garden, and he was telling us about just like the landscape out there. So we did a few trips out there with some friends, you know, over the years. We did like a Thanksgiving out there. We did like one day of writing when we were writing our last record, Solace, out there. And it just felt like a perfect, you know, place for us to go and do an extended writing trip. And yeah, before the pandemic hit, we were like, let's do a 2-week trip out there. But, you know, once we were out there, and once, you know, the gravity of the pandemic kind of kicked in, it felt like the perfect place for us to like have this, yeah, cathartic, really healing experience. And also just to be inspired by like the landscape. It's so alien, and it feels like you're on another planet, and is really conducive to just creating and generating ideas and, you know, connecting with ourselves. And yeah, it was really nice.
I mean, I would say it's somewhat magical as well, because when you look back, I mean, Solace, Grammy nominated, that had 2 Grammy nominations. Now you have another Grammy nomination coming up. I mean, I think every album you're going to have to do something in Joshua Tree. Like,
yeah, we're not mad about that. That sounds like a pretty perfect idea for us. It's like we've done this for a while now. We'd like to pack up and set up shop somewhere different with all of the records. And I think just wherever location and landscape you're in can be so inspiring, and sort of, you know, set the grounds for what the music is going to be. And, you know, we would sit out underneath the stars some nights in Joshua Tree, and it's so vivid, like so beautiful and bright. And I feel like you definitely get taken somewhere else, and it's easy just to take that inspiration into the studio.
Well, with that, can you tell us, you know, kind of the story behind On My Knees, which this song just slaps you in the face? Such a good record. I mean, it's just your music and songs is just emotional. It has buildup. It's just, I don't know. I'm a huge fan. I love it. But, you know, that song, what was kind of the story behind it?
I guess that was one of the earliest ideas that we wrote for the record. We kind of generated the initial idea in like late 2019. And basically we were jamming at our friend and like collaborator's house, this guy, Jason Evergan, really talented producer we work with sometimes. And we were just trying to make like a banging techno jam. It was like late night, and it just started with like the whomping bass, 4/4 kick. And we knew it had like, you know, just this very huge kind of feeling to it. And so then we kind of fleshed it out when we were in Joshua Tree, and we were trying to find the identity. And then it kind of came later in the pandemic when we found Tyrone was jamming all these different vocal ideas. And finally it kind of had this like bluesy 90s alt almost feeling to the verse vocal that we landed on. So we had fun like just fleshing that out. We were referencing Radiohead for the breakdown, you know, trying to make it feel skitterish and like, you know, things are swirling around your head. And it all came together, I guess.
And, you know, going from the studio and having this idea in your head and being at a Joshua Tree and you guys do it, and then you go to a spot like Red Rocks, you know, when you just the difference between those two things and seeing it come alive, what's that moment like?
Yeah, I mean, so that song in particular, I remember we spoke about a lot whilst we were writing it. How good is this going to be to play live? Or like we were envisioning moments throughout the song to be able to translate it live. And then then Red Rocks, no one had heard the song. So we put it out, like we played it for the first time, and, you know, to get that experience, like with the audience hearing it for the first time right back at you is so special. And then once people had really digested it, and we'd gotten towards the end of our tour and did those LA shows, Like there's nothing better than seeing, you know, a lot of people just, you know, jumping up and down to your song. So it's pretty special.
And how do you guys kind of, you know, come down from those natural highs of performing at these venues and now, you know, taking maybe a little break? You know, how do you guys reboot and sort of regenerate?
Yeah, I guess in the same way that John was talking about, you know, we sort of refigured out how we were going to write music together. When we started touring again, we were like, all right, let's completely reconceptualize what touring looks like. So now it's like there's a very strong routine on the road. You know, we do a workout together, and we do like meditations, breath work before the show. And basically what we started doing when we're game is that we get an ice bath set up. And then, you know, once we finish the show, an ice bath.
Oh, an ice bath set up after the show?
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you know, it's so daunting, but like, you know, when you commit to it and you do it, like you never want to do it. But once you do it and you do like 3 minutes in there, or like John does 6 minutes because he's a beast. But, you know, when you do that, it just like brings you back to reality in such a good way. And I think that used to be a thing with touring is like, how do you know, pull your nervous system back to earth after it's such a crazy feeling to be up there and seeing all these people react to the songs that you've made. And it's just it's a very heightened experience. So this is a really cool way to bring you back to the planet Earth. And, you know, it's also like a team bonding exercise, like who's going to do it. You egg each other on. So it's fun.
Well, I mean, with that being said, you have also coming up the Sunbeam Festival coming up in Tulum, Mexico. So is that sort of, you kind of want to take, you know, all those elements of, I don't know, relaxation and meditation, you know, combined with music as well? Is that what we can kind of expect from this sort of festival?
Yeah, 100%. I think that this is a space that we're like really interested in, is like self-care and wellness. And that matches so well with, you know, the industry that we're in. I think that there's a lot of progression to be made in that space and the cohesion between the two worlds. So this is a good example for us to have a bunch of people who want to stay up late and hear, you know, dance music and see live shows, and then get up and start their day the next day with, you know, some yoga or meditation classes and stuff like that. So we're going to be walking around the festival the whole time and taking it all in ourselves.
And are we going to include the ice bath?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. There's no two ways about it.
Well, I mean, that's coming up in March. I mean, you have a busy year, and, you know, congratulations again, Grammy nomination this year for your song Alive. When you found out you were nominated, you know, where were you guys, and what goes in your mind when you get that call?
We were actually in Mexico City. We just played our first show ever there. Our first show we'd ever played in Mexico. And I remember it was the next day waking up and just seeing like these tweets and talking about the Grammys. I was like, what are these tweets about? Why are we tagged? Then I saw it and I was like, oh my God, what? Like, this is crazy. It was so surreal. And then I texted John and he was like, yeah, you know, and then we were all texting each other. And it was pretty surreal.
Yeah, it's a good, like, so we went to the Grammys 2 years ago now. Mm-hmm. And I think it's a really just cool experience and celebration of like where you're at, and you get to sort of, I guess, include all the team, all the people who are working hard on your music behind the scenes. And when we got this nomination, you know, I definitely just thought about having that moment again coming up soon to celebrate with all the people who are, you know, are hard for us.
Well, this year it's in Vegas, and I know you guys have been all over the world. Is Vegas still a destination that you guys enjoy? And when you do go there, I mean, is it meditation? Is it a little bit of blackjack? Is it some pool parties? Like, how do you guys enjoy Vegas?
Yeah, we've got a love-hate relationship with Vegas. No, I think that it's always exciting when it's coming up, and then it's always when you leave, you're like, well, I hope we're not going back there for a while. We've been doing residencies at the Wynn there for a while, and you know, I think that they've like garnered a good culture there of like, you know, tasteful lineups, and you know, there's a respite from all the gambling and stuff going on, and it's not as, you know, of a ridiculous or naughty culture as it's made out to be. There can be like this cool little escapist night in the middle of this, you know, crazy city. But we'll make the most of it again, and you know, hopefully leave with our
with our souls.
Yeah, exactly. You know, there's a Red Rock in Vegas. Have you guys been to that part? It's
Really?
when you like fly in Vegas, you'll see like the mountains and it's kind of this whole red mountain area, but it's really cool for hiking. I mean, if you enjoy Joshua Tree, that's probably a good spot just to get out, go hike before you take home the Grammy, you know,
Huge.
or go up there
Sounds like
with your Grammy and take pictures with it out
exactly.
there.
Sounds like a plan.
Well, guys, I want to thank you for your time. You know, before we go real quick, you know, being from Australia, maybe you can give us some pointers. Do you have like a cool venue, you know, if we were to visit your hometown, we should go to?
Yeah, well, I mean, a venue, there's a lot of good outdoor venues that, in Australia, and sort of that's what excites us. We've got some touring coming up there at the end of this year, which is like, you know, classic, like, you know, summer starts to hit in like, you know, November, and you've got these big outdoor stages like in the Domain where you can sort of see the Sydney Harbour Bridge. But I would also just recommend going to Byron Bay. That's like my favorite spot in Australia.
Byron Bay. All right.
Byron Bay. Yeah, it's just a beautiful little beach, like surfy town. But then there's this like amazing mountainous hinterland, you know, only 5 minutes away. Yeah, it's just spectacular.
All right. And then when we get there and after we go to the venue, what's like a dish that you would recommend we get?
The number one thing Australians do so well is breakfast, like breakfast and coffee, like really good coffees. You know, with breakfast, it's like the classic sort of avocado toast, maybe some like roasted tomatoes, halloumi, which is like a Greek cheese. It's not as much of a thing here, I realized, but like that's just a classic kind of breakfast, maybe some bacon, you know, and it's just like really well made. The coffee is just impeccably made. And you can find it all over just any city in Australia.
Yeah, really good cafe culture, street side, you know.
Just like all day type of culture, just go, it's coffee time, let's get something.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%.
All right. And what would be like the most touristy thing we would have to do?
Probably, so this is something I actually did like a few years ago, but climbing the Sydney Harbour Bridge is a pretty touristy thing. And, you know, when you live in a city, you kind of write it off. You're like, yeah, I'll never do that. That's very touristy. But then I did it and I was like, oh, this is actually really sick. And it made me appreciate how beautiful the city Sydney is. Like it's just built around this harbor and it's crazy. It's just crazily scenic. So
what would be the I guess least touristy thing we should do? Maybe like a hidden gem that kind of off the beaten path.
Well, I think Tasmania is a bit of a hidden gem in Australia. If you can get a little flight down there, it's just, yeah, I think it's an untapped, like beautiful, like sort of like there's crazy hikes and mountains and stuff to walk around in the middle of the what do you call it?
The
island continent itself.
Yeah.
But amazing beaches and amazing seafood, I guess, all along the coastline of Tasmania there.
Yeah, I guess also just all along the east coast of Australia, there's all these crazy hidden beaches that are tied in with the bushland. You can like pull up.
I'm gonna write all this down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Make notes.
Or make my trip right now.
Yeah, it's so good. Yeah, you love it.
Well, thank you for some pointers on that. And, you know, lastly, you know, what are you looking forward to in this upcoming year for Rüfüs Du Sol?
I guess we just over the last few days have been setting our studio back up again, and we went shopping yesterday for like cymbals and percussion pieces, and you know we got some new synths in play, and we're basically setting up this playground again. So we're gonna start just working on more music and jamming.
Are we already working on new music?
Yeah.
Seriously, like we're not gonna let Surrender just kind of for a little bit.
We're too inspired. We have to get back in there.
You can't pull us away from it.
Yeah,
but it'll take a while, so don't worry.
Well, we look forward to anything you guys put out. I think Joshua Tree, that's another spot. Just keep going there, writing records. Congratulations on Surrender. Congratulations on On My Knees, and just everything that you guys are doing. So thank you for taking the time. And Rüfüs Du Sol talking with Alternative Soundcheck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.